So we just finished learning how to multiply radical to radical, but now we are going to learn to use the distributive property for radicals. And it's going to be about the same as distributive property for variables. So let's look at our very first example. We have the square root of 6, parentheses, meaning multiplication, 3 plus square root of 8. All right? So we are going to multiply 3 times the square root of 6. So we're going to have 3 square root of 6. All right? And then we are going to multiply square root 6 times square root 8, which is going to give us, square root of 48. I think this marker is officially done. Alrighty. So now that we've distributed, we want to see if we can add them. So we need to find our factors of 48. Alright. So 12 and 4 is a good one to work with. And then 4 is 2 and 2. And 12 can be 2 and 6. And then 2 and 3. Alrighty. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. There we go. Alright. Perfect. So then we would circle our pairs. So I have 2's here and 2's here. Alrighty. And then we would have 2 2's. So I'm going to bring it over here again. We have 3 square root 6, just like before, plus our 2 pairs of 2's. So that's going to be 2 times 2, which is going to be 4 square root 3. Alrighty? Okay. So now, let's take a look at example 2. We're going to have to FOIL. I know you guys love that. So let's take a look. We're going to start with the 4. So 4 times 2 is going to give us 8. 4 times negative square root 3 is going to be negative 4 square root 3. And then square root 3 times 2 is going to be plus 2 square root 3. And then finally, square root 3 times square root 3 is going to be plus square root 9. Alrighty. So 8 does not have a like term, so we're just going to write 8. And then negative 4 square root 3 plus 2 square root 3 is going to be negative 2 square root 3. And then we need to find our factors of 9, which are just going to be 3 and 3. So we're going to add 3. And hey, look, now we can add the 8 and the 3. 8, 9, 10, 11, minus 2 square root 3. It's a lot of work, but that's okay. We can do it. Alright? So let's take a look at example 1 again, just for your information. There are actually 2 answers to this problem, okay? So I'm going to rewrite it over here. Alrighty, so we're going to distribute it just the way we did before, to get 3 square root 6 plus square root 48. Whoops, sorry. I moved the paper. But this answer stays the same. Okay? When we factor it out, 4, 12, 2, 6. Oh wait, no, I'm wrong. There are no 2 answers. I was wrong. Ignore me. I almost made a mistake. Well, I was starting to make a mistake. Alright, so, ignoring that, that did not happen. Okay, so, Yeah, that did not happen. Alrighty. I thought there was another way to simplify it. There is not. We are moving on. Alrighty. So then, for number 11, we are going to distribute. So, square root of 15 times 2 will give us 2 square root of 15. And then plus square root of 15 times square root of 5. So that is going to be 15 times 5, which will give us square root, 75. Alright. So now we need a factor 75. I'm thinking of quarters, 3/4. And then 25 will go into 5 and 5. So then I know I can simplify. Okay, so remember 5 goes on the outside. Whatever is left over goes on the inside. Alright, and then try to do 15, but 3 and 5. 3 is a prime number, 5 is a prime number. So we're just going to be left with 2 square root of 15 plus 5 square root of 3. And that's okay. That's allowed. Alrighty, let's try the next one. Next one looks a little bit more tricky, but that's okay. So we have 3 square root 10 times 5. We're just going to multiply the numbers. So 3 times 5 will give us 15 square root 10, and then plus 3 times 4 will give you 12, and then square root 10 times 2 will give you 20. Alright, try the first one. 5 and 2, not helpful. So we know that this one is going to stay 15 square root 10. But this one we can change into 5 and 4, and 4 with those 2's. Alright, so then we have 12 times 2 square root 5. So 15 square root 10 plus 24 square root 5. And we're done. Alrighty, let's take a look at the next one. This time we have to deal with some negatives. So we have negative 2 square root 3 times 3 square root 10. So start with the numbers. Negative 2 times negative 3 gives you negative 6. Square root 3 times 10 gives you 30. Alright, and then negative 2 times negative 3 will give you positive 6. 3 times 6 gives you 18. Let's see if we can simplify. For 30 we have 3 and 10. For 10 we have 5 and 2. So we cannot simplify negative 6 square root 30, so we're just going to rewrite that. So now we're going to try 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 3. So this one we can simplify because we have our pair. So 6 times 3 and square root 2. 6 times 3 will give us 18 square root 2. Alright, let's take a look at 14. For 14, negative 4 square root 2. So, negative 4 times 1 gives you negative 4. Square root 2 times square root 6, square root 12. And then negative 4 times positive 3 gives you negative 12. Square root 2 times square root 14 gives you square root 28. Alright, let's try to simplify 12. We have 2 and 6, 2 and 3. So this one can be simplified. So we have negative 4 times 2 square root 3. And then for 28, let's try 7 and 4, 2 and 2. Excellent. So this one can be simplified as well. So you have negative 12 times 2 square root 7. Negative 4 times 2 will give you negative 8 square root 3. Negative 12 times 2 gives you negative 24 square root 7. Alrighty. So let's step it up a notch. Going back to foiling. So square root 5 times square root 5. So a property of when you multiply a square root times itself, the square root goes away. So let me show you an example. If I have the square root x times the square root x, it's just going to be x. Or in this case, square root 5 times square root 5 is just going to be 5. And the reason is that when you multiply square root 5 times square root 5, you get the square root of 25. And then we find our factors of 25, and it's 5 and 5. And there's your pair. So from now on, when I multiply a radical times itself, I'm not going to list out square root of 25. I'm just going to say 5 from now on. Okay? Alrighty. So we have 5, and then plus 4 square root 5, and then plus 2 square root 5, and then 8. Combine your like terms. 8 plus 5 will give you 13, and then 4 plus 2 will give you 6 square root 5. Alrighty, let's take a look at the next one. Oh, I haven't been boxing my answers. I apologize. There you go. Answers are boxed. Okay. So we have square root 2 times square root 2, which is just going to give us 2. And then square root 2 times 5 will give us 5 square root 2. Negative 6 times square root 2, negative 6 square root 2. Negative 6 times 5, negative 30. Combine your like terms. 2 minus 30 is negative 28. And then 5 minus 6, negative 1 square root 2. You don't have to put the 1, but it's also not wrong if you do. Okay, either of those answers is correct. On to the next one. We have 6 square root 3 times 5 square root 3. Alrighty. So we're going to have 6 times 5 will give us 30. And then we have square root 3 times square root 3. Well, this is just going to be 3. Alrighty. Because remember, square root 3 times square root 3 will give us square root 9. When we factor the 9, we get 3 times 3, which is our pair. Okay, alrighty. And then we're going to do 6 square root 3 times negative 4. So 6 times negative 4 is negative 24 square root 3. Negative 2 times 5 square root 3 is negative 10 square root 3. And then finally, negative 2 times negative 4, positive 8. 3 times 30 will give us 90. And then we'll go ahead and combine these like terms. Negative 24 minus 10, negative 34 square root 3. plus 8. Combine the 90 and the 8, or 98 minus 34 square root 3. I apologize if my hand is getting in the way of some of my work. It has been a while since I've done this. Oh, and I forgot to box these answers as well. There you go. Alright, last one, and then you guys can work on delta math. 2 square root 7 plus 1 squared. So the first thing we need to do is expand this out. Alrighty. So now we have 2 square root 7 times 2 square root 7. So 2 times 2 will give us 4. Square root 7 times square root 7 will give us 7. And then 2 square root 7 times 1. So 2 square root 7. And then 1 times 2 square root 7. And then 1 times 1. 4 times 7 will give us 28. 2 plus 2 will give us 4 square root 7 plus 1. 28 plus 1 is 29. And we're done. Good job, guys.